I have a full-blown masterclass essentially that I want to share with you guys today, all about cravings, urges, becoming less impulsive with food. So right now, you know the importance of eating what you're craving. I talk about this all of the time. If you want to feel less impulsive with food, if you want to stop when you're comfortably full, if you no longer want to feel out of control with food, you have to eat what you're craving. And many of you guys know that, cravings aren't something to be afraid of. Maybe at the beginning you're like, I cannot eat what I'm craving because I'm going to lose control. But then you'll eventually get to a point where so many of my clients are where they recognize, okay, if I just eat what I'm craving, I literally prevent myself from binging later on. So it's the way better option to actually just eat what I'm craving. At the beginning, it's sometimes kind of scary to actually eat what you're craving because maybe there's a lack of self-trust. Well, if I just eat what I'm craving, then I'm going to spiral out of control. If I'm already out of control, if I'm already overeating, if I'm already binging, and then I actually eat what I'm craving, I'm going to spiral even more out of control. That's typically the beginning mindset. But once you actually eat what it is that you're craving, you start to recognize that you are less impulsive. You have way less food thoughts. You prevented yourself from eating an entire tub of ice cream later on, and you're like, okay, it's actually way better for me to eat what I'm craving than try to, push off my cravings, choose a different alternative, because that's when you're actually more impulsive with food. That's actually when you feel even more deprived and then end up eating so much later on. So, the importance of eating what you're craving. But I want you to get really honest with yourself. Are you actually honoring your cravings? Do you eat what you're craving all the time? Sometimes, or not at all? I'm going to go through this and I want to create like an aha moment for you. Because a lot of people will say, Lorna, I'm eating what I'm craving, but I'm still spiraling out of control. I eat what I'm craving, but then I go overboard. I eat what I'm craving, but then I just eat too much. You think you are giving into your cravings, but you're not, which is why you still have urges. So you're either not giving into your cravings, which is definitely why you have urges, or you are only giving into your cravings sometimes, not all the times, which is why you still have urges. So I'm going to break this down for you. So you know that you have a sweet tooth, and eating something sweet after lunch makes your lunch just taste so much better. You know yourself, you're like, I love having something sweet. It just tops off the meal. It just makes the meal so much better. You know this about yourself. And now you're starting to not feel guilty for having something sweet after your lunch. And you're allowing yourself to have, let's say, some chocolate after lunch, maybe a piece of dark chocolate after lunch. So in your head, you're like, I'm eating what I'm craving. I'm allowing myself to have some chocolate after lunch. But you're only allowing yourself to have one tiny, tiny, tiny piece of dark chocolate, the tiniest little square of dark chocolate. You have the tiny square of dark chocolate, and you don't feel satisfied. You're thinking, I want more. Okay, this was good, but now I want a second piece. But in your head, you're like, no, you can only have one small square of dark chocolate. You think you are giving into your cravings because you allowed yourself to have a square of dark chocolate, but that's not fully honoring your cravings because you're putting limits on how much you're allowed to eat. The one square of dark chocolate isn't satisfying enough for you. You want another piece, but you're like, nope, you can't have another piece. And so you're still deprived. You're still impulsive. You wanted another piece of dark chocolate and you're like, no, you can only have one piece. So you're still thinking about chocolate the rest of the afternoon. You're super impulsive. And because you didn't really fully honor your craving, later on that evening, you open up the box of chocolates and you finish like the whole bar. There's nothing magical about one small piece of chocolate. There's nothing magical about that. But you still have limits on how much you're allowed to eat. And what I often hear is, yeah, but Lorna, if I allow myself to have more, I'm just going to eat the whole bar. That is not true. Your body does not want you to overeat. Your body doesn't want you to binge. Your body doesn't want you to spiral out of control. Your body just wants you to listen to it, but you're only half listening. You're only half listening because, okay, technically, you honored your craving, you allowed yourself to have some chocolate, but you were still limiting how much you were allowed to have, which is why you still felt very impulsive, which is why you ended up having an urge later on that evening. And so you're like, Lorna, I'm eating what I'm craving. Yes, but not really. Yes, but no. You're half listening. You had the chocolate, which is fantastic. But limiting yourself, like you can only have one tiny little piece of chocolate, that's not fully honoring your cravings, which is why you're still impulsive, which is why you still feel deprived, which is why you're still thinking about food for the rest of the day, and you end up losing control come later on that evening. You think if I allow myself to have more, I'm going to eat more. It's literally quite the opposite. When you tell yourself, hi, Angel. Hi, Jen. When you tell yourself, have one small piece of dark chocolate or whatever it is, you're going to want more. What if I have diabetes and can't have the whole bar? Well, I mean, even somebody who doesn't have diabetes, why would somebody want to have the whole bar, right? Like, you don't want to have the whole bar. And this is not what that's about, right? This is about having a moderate portion. But what I'm trying to explain is oftentimes when you tell yourself, like, have just one tiny little piece, that's when you actually end up having the whole bar. But people who have a normal, effortless, balanced relationship with food, they're not having a whole bar of chocolate because they're not limiting themselves. You know, think about your friends or your family members that you see. They just have maybe like a few pieces and they move on. But they're not trying to control themselves. They're not saying, okay, you can only have one piece. They're not trying to just have one piece, which is why they stop when their body says, I've had enough. But a lot of the times people think, but I'm the exception. If I allow myself to have more than one, I'm going to eat the whole thing. No, it's actually the opposite. When you try to restrict how much you're having, that's when you end up having more. Especially people with, diabetes or things like that. It's like your body doesn't want you to eat more than your body actually needs. But people often will have the whole bar when they try to limit themselves to how much they're having. Okay? So that's one example. Now, another example of allowing yourself to eat what you're craving, but not really, like you are, but you aren't. Let's say for example, you go out for dinner at a restaurant, and normally you order a protein and veggie dish. And you're like, you know what? I am actually really craving this pasta dish. Like, this pasta dish looks really, really, really good. I'm going to have some pasta. So you go and you order the pasta. And you're like, perfect. I'm honoring my cravings. I'm not depriving myself. I really feel like the pasta, so I'm going to order the pasta. That's you eating what you're craving. But tomorrow you have leftovers. Maybe you brought some home. So the next day, you're like, oh, that pasta was so good. And now you want more. But you get in your head, oh, but I had pasta yesterday. Maybe I shouldn't have it today. You are craving the pasta the next day. But you get in your head, maybe I shouldn't have the pasta. Come on, you had it yesterday. Do you really need more today? Come on, just say no. You should probably have something healthier today because yesterday you had the pasta, so probably make a healthier choice today. So instead of having the pasta that you're wanting for leftovers for lunch the next day, you go make yourself a salad because you think that's what you should be doing. Is that you honoring your craving? No. You want the pasta again tomorrow. But you get in your head, oh, but I had it yesterday. Oh, but I probably should have something healthier today. And then you make yourself a salad instead of the pasta that you actually want. And the whole time you're thinking about how good the pasta tasted last night. And all you're thinking about is like, I want the pasta, I want the pasta, I want the pasta. What is that doing? That is creating these urges inside of you. You spend the rest of the day, same thing, thinking about the pasta. And the truth is, you know you're eventually going to have it. But now you wait until you're way too impulsive. You're not having a craving anymore because at lunch you were craving it. Now it's not a craving, it's an urge, which makes it that much harder for you to not give in. So now you waited until you're really impulsive. So now when you go and have the pasta dish, you finish it. And you were full halfway through, but you ate the entire thing. And it would have been so much better if you just had the pasta for lunch because you were actually craving it. And when you actually give into a craving, which is a true physical craving, it's like, ooh, that sounds really good. Ooh, some pasta sounds really good. Then what happens is you would have been able to stop when you had enough. But you waited. You pushed off your craving. You got in your head. You were overthinking. And then you waited until an urge came and it felt like you had no control. So then you're eating the pasta so fast you can't even taste it. And then you overdid it. And then you beat yourself up and you're like, see, I shouldn't have had the pasta, but that's not true. You had the pasta at the wrong time. You had the pasta when you were having an urge, not a craving, and there's a really big difference. Someone said, for me, I'll want the pasta every day though. I feel like I'm never satisfied. So there's typically a phase at the beginning where foods are still very special. And especially if you've always had a negative relationship with pasta, then it's like, of course I'm going to want to have the pasta every single day. Like, if I'm not dieting anymore, like, I'm going to want the pasta every single day. But if you were to have pasta every single day, you would get sick of it. I did this with almond butter. I used to, I used to overdo it on almond butter, peanut butter, any type of nut butter. And then you know what I said? You know what? I'm going to allow myself to have it every single day. And I did. And then I got to a point where I'm like, I don't want to see almond butter for a hot minute. So eventually those foods no longer become special. The foods, I always say, get taken off the pedestal. And you're like, well, I can have the pasta every single day if I really want to. But you will get to a point where it's like, I'm allowed to have it. It's not special anymore. I have it when I want it. And then you actually don't want it every single day. But most people aren't willing to try that. And the thing is, so this is not eat whatever you want. Yeah, you're probably going to spiral out of control. And yeah, maybe, weight comes on when you're just kind of eating whatever you want. But the way that I teach this is I don't teach food freedom. Eat whatever you want. You're going to feel like crap. You're going to feel lethargic. You're going to feel uncomfortable in your own skin. You still have to have boundaries. This isn't a free-for-all. Like, let me just eat whatever I want. Oh, I want pasta every day? Sure, eat pasta. You want cookies every day? Sure, eat cookies. Then of course you're going to spiral out of control. Of course you're going to not feel comfortable in your body. You still need boundaries. You still need to, have boundaries in the sense that, like, okay, you had some cookies. You don't need the fourth cookie, right? Like, this is not a free-for-all. So many people go from one extreme to the other, and they're like, why am I gaining so much weight? Why am I spiraling out of control? It's like, well, you're just eating whatever you want. There does need to be some boundaries in place because you want to respect the body you're in. You want to feel comfortable in your own skin. So there's that as well too. So the first thing I wanted to really nail down for you was, are you actually eating what you're craving? Yes. All the time. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, which some of the examples I shared, or maybe you're not actually eating what you're craving. But again, you might say, I'm eating what I'm craving, but in the first example, you're eating what you're craving, aka you're allowing yourself the dark chocolate, but it's only one small piece. Or the second example, you went to the restaurant, you ordered the pasta, but the next day when you were craving pasta again, you said no, which is why you still have urges. So that's the first thing that I want to say. Now, the second thing I want to say is a lot of the times people will say, Lorna, I'm eating what I'm craving. But as soon as I allow myself to eat what I'm craving, I spiral out of control. And this is because you think you're having a craving, but it's not a craving, it's an urge, and there's a difference. If you do not understand the difference between cravings and urges, you are going to spiral out of control. So what I mean by this is when you're experiencing a craving, you know what you want. You're like, I want this specific food. I want some bread and cheese. I want some ice cream. I want some dark chocolate. Like, you know exactly what it is that you want. You're not impulsive. You know what you want. That's a true physical craving. Your body is sending you a signal of like, I really want a smoothie. I really want some grapes. I really want some chocolate, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be sweet food. It can literally be like, I'm craving a smoothie. I'm craving a gigantic salad. I'm craving some chocolate. When you're experiencing an urge, it doesn't really matter what you eat. You are craving the feeling that binge eating gives you. The high, the euphoria, the dopamine feeling, the comfort, the relief, the pleasure. There's not really anything particularly that you're wanting. It's just like, I need to eat right now, and you're craving the feeling that binge eating gives you. So now what I often see is people say, but Lorna, when I eat what I'm craving, I spiral out of control. No. You gave into an urge and you thought it was a craving, but it wasn't a craving. You were impulsive. You were experiencing an urge, which is why you spiraled out of control. I see this all the time with a lot of clients I work with. It's like, but I allowed myself to have the cookie. So like I gave into a craving, but then I couldn't just have one. I couldn't just have two. You weren't experiencing a craving. You gave into an urge, which is why, of course, you spiraled out of control. So you guys, this is all so important. Like, number one, you have to understand, are you actually experiencing a craving or are you experiencing an urge? Knowing the difference is so important because you want to eat what you're craving, but you have to say no to your urges. If you don't know the difference between the two, it's going to be very challenging to stop after a decent amount. You want to say yes to your cravings because when you say yes to your cravings, you become less impulsive and you prevent yourself from having an urge later on. But at the same time, if you're experiencing an urge, you also have to say no. You want to say yes to your cravings and no to your urges. But people don't get this correct. So many people are dismissing their cravings because they're like, I can't have the pasta today. No, don't have the chocolate. So you dismiss your cravings and then you end up having urges and binging on all the things later on. And then you get to a point where you have an urge and you're so impulsive and then you feel like you have no choice but to give in. So you're continuously giving into your urges, which is further ingraining this habit in your brain. And it's actually making your urges more intense. And you are saying no to your cravings, which is why you're having urges. Drop a comment, drop a emoji if you're like, this makes so much freaking sense. Let me know. Understanding this will be a game changer for you. Jen, so happy you're here, Jen. So, this is a really important conversation. It's a very nuanced difference. It's so difficult to control these urges. I fill the void and boredom by eating. Okay, so I actually have a program. It's called Eliminate Your Urges. I would highly recommend jumping in. We're actually starting today. And I'm not only going to teach you the different types of urges because there is not just binge urges. There's emotional urges, which it sounds like, that's what you're doing. It's like, I'm bored, I'm trying to fill up time and I'm eating. There's overeating urges, habitual urges that always happen at the same time. Always 3:00 in the afternoon, always 8:00 when the kids go to bed. There's mindless snacking urges, boredom urges, overeating urges, binge urges. Knowing the different types of urges is really important. And then I'm also going to share with you how to easily not give in depending on which urge you're experiencing because there's different tools. So if you have a scarcity mindset, right? Or if let's say you're stressed and you're anxious and you're bored, there's going to be a different tool to help you not give in compared to maybe somebody else that's experienced like a binge urge where it's like, I'm super impulsive. There's different tools depending on which urge you're experiencing. So actually today, day 1, I'm going through all the different types of urges. Day 2, I'm sharing very practical tools that you can use that will help you easily not give in. Whether you are bored and you're trying to fill up time, I'll help you navigate that. Whether you are impulsive and you have binge urges, I'll help you to not give into those so that you can have, a few cookies and move on with your day. Maybe you're experiencing overeating urges and you're at the restaurant and you're like, but the food is so good. The food is so good. I just want to clean my plate. I just want to finish it. Like all or nothing mentality. I'll help you not give into your overeating urges. And then also how to prevent these urges from arising in the first place. How to actually regulate your nervous system so that you are less impulsive with food. How to eat what you're craving so you prevent urges from popping up. And how to easily say no to your urges no matter how freaking strong they are. No more, but just one last time. But the food is so good. That ends here. And this is actually how your urges become less intense. There are certain things right now, you guys, that you might be doing that you think is helpful that's making your urges more intense. Like I said, if you are trying to dismiss your cravings because you're afraid of spiraling into a binge, you're actually making your urges more intense. And every time you give in to your urges, you're further ingraining this habit into your brain. And of course, your urges are going to become more intense. That's why it feels impossible to not give into. So inside of this program, I'm going to help you eat what you're craving so that your urges don't pop up, and how to easily say no to your urges, no matter how strong they are, no matter how bored you are, no matter if there's food in front of you, no matter if your husband pulls out a snack and you're like, I'm not hungry, but like my husband's eating, so I might as well eat. You're going to stop that. You're going to stop the mindless snacking. You're going to go to the restaurant, order what you want, and as soon as you're finished, leave food on your plate, save some for the rest of, tomorrow, and be able to enjoy some tomorrow without feeling like I need to clean my plate. It's so good. How to be able to process your emotions so that it doesn't matter if you're stressed, bored, anxious, overwhelmed. You know how to process your emotions without always comforting yourself with food. So today, this program, it's called Eliminate Your Urges. How to actually no longer freaking feel the urge to binge. We start off today. You get daily trainings with me. Every single day, you're getting a training. This is going to be focused on the mindset and the strategy of how to not give in to your urges, how to feel way more powerful over your urges, and also how to make your urges less intense. What I often hear is, I know I shouldn't give in. But why do I still give in? I know I shouldn't. I'm also going to help you work through the mindset. One of my clients on a coaching call, she's like, but I don't want to give in, but I also kind of want to. There's resistance. I know I shouldn't keep giving in because then I'm further ingraining this habit in my brain, but I keep on doing it. There's going to be trainings on the mindset piece as well too. Because I know that there's resistance. Of course you want to binge. Of course you want to emotionally eat. Of course you want to relax with food at the end of the day. It feels good. It feels good. Even though you hate it, you love it. But I'm going to help you work through this love-hate relationship as well too. So the link is in my bio. You can also just message me the word urges and I'll send you the link. I am so excited. This is daily trainings to help you no longer feel an urge to binge, emotionally eat, overeat, boredom snack. This is everything. So there was a comment here, I binge every time my husband fights with me. So we're going to talk about this inside of the program. How to not let a trigger spiral you into a binge. How to process your emotions. Because the truth is, if you learned how to process your emotions, you can be angry with someone, you can have a fight with someone, and still not use food to comfort yourself. But because people aren't taught how to process their emotions, people aren't taught how to feel. It's I feel sad right now, I feel lonely, I don't know how to feel, so I'm just going to eat to make myself feel better. But obviously, that doesn't fix anything. So when you actually learn how to process your emotions, which I'm going to dive into inside of this training in depth, it doesn't matter. You can have a horrible day. You can get in a fight with your husband. You can be stressed. You can be overwhelmed. You can be bored. You're I don't know what else to do. Instead of filling up your time by eating, you'll actually learn how to just be with yourself. No one's teaching this. No one's teaching how to just be with yourself, how to allow yourself to be bored. It's always I'm bored, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to go eat. I'm sad, I'm going to go eat. I'm happy, I'm going to go eat. Oh, my husband's eating, so I'm going to eat. Everyone else is eating, so I'm going to eat as well too. When you stop having urges, you don't eat just because other people are eating. You don't turn to food because you got in a fight with your husband. You process your emotions. You feel better without comforting yourself with food. So get inside of this program. It's called Eliminate Your Urges. And I'm so freaking excited. If you want to stop your binge eating, emotional eating, habitual eating, mindless snacking so much faster, you need to eliminate your urges. The only reason you are continuing to eat past fullness, eat way more cookies than you know your body needs, self-soothe with food in the evenings, eat super healthy and blow it all in the evening is because you haven't eliminated your urges yet, and that's going to change inside of this program. So training number 1 is kicking off today. I'm so excited, and I just basically did a full training today. It was probably like 40 minutes. So this was already a full training in and of itself. But if you want to dive deeper with me, you can join the program, and you're going to have a lot more actionable steps inside that program. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So I will see you inside. Message me the word urges if you'd like the link to join this program. It's a 2-week program, daily trainings with me to help you feel way more powerful over your urges, no longer give in, and eventually have your urges no longer even pop up. So I will see you guys inside of the program. Have a beautiful rest of your day, you guys, and we'll see you soon. Okay, bye.